Today I'm going to talk about the past and present views of two macroeconomic conditions, economic growth and interest rates. First, I'm going to talk about economic growth. Economic growth is best determined by gross domestic product, or GDP. And GDP is typically calculated on an annual basis and is defined as the market value of all final goods and services produced within a country in a given period. For our purposes in economic growth, we use real GDP, which is GDP that is adjusted for price changes as inflation or deflation occur. So as you can see in the chart on the screen, GDP has grown at a positive rate each year since 1990, except for in the years 1991, 2008, and 2009, which were all years of recession. When GDP doesn't grow at a sustainable rate, we have something called an asset bubble, which is when the price of an asset becomes too high in a short amount of time. And this occurred in the housing sector in 2005, 2006, as inflation grew to an abnormally high level. This led to a lack of confidence in economic growth, and people sell more than they buy, which led to a contraction in the economy, which is what happened in the Great Recession. We typically want to see a growth rate annually of about 2 to 3%, which is about where we're at right now. In 2017, we saw a 2.2% growth rate, and it's estimated that in 2019 we're going to see a 2.3% growth rate, which is really at a healthy level. And we believe that this is according to the Federal Open Market Committee, and they believe this is attributable to the trade war that has arisen from Trump's economic policies. Okay, next I'm going to talk about the history of interest rates in the US. The federal funds rate is the main rate that banks use to base all other short-term interest rates off of, and is the interest rate that they charge to each other in order to meet the reserve requirement. It's used to help control economic growth, and thus is the most important interest rate that exists. The Federal Reserve likes to keep the interest rate between 2 and 5% in order to maintain a healthy economy, and this allows for GDP to grow between 2 and 3% each year. There have been times in the past, however, where the rate has needed to be higher than 2 to 3% in order to combat inflation. The period from 1990 to 2000 saw unusually high federal fund rates before dropping from 2001 to 2004. 2005-2007 was a time with a higher federal fund rate in order to decrease inflation. And when the Great Recession hit in 2008, the federal funds rate had to be decreased in order to stimulate economic activity and growth. This was the case all the way up until 2015. And since 2015, the rate has risen slightly each year and is predicted to continue in this direction in 2019. And this you can all see in the chart as these ebbs and flows have occurred. Currently, or at least in December of 2018, the Federal Open Market Committee raised the current federal funds rate to 2.5%, and at that time it was predicted to increase further to 3% in 2019. However, right now the Fed has decided to be patient as it determines what adjustments to make and to not make any rash decisions. So the Fed Chairman Jerome Powell recently stated that the case for raising rates has weakened somehow. Even though there's a current pause on interest rate increases, Americans should still be wary of assuming anything, as economic issues such as slowing growth in China could lead to interest rate increases as predicted in late 2018. So even though we're currently slowly rising and kind of at a pause, we should still not jump to any conclusions, as interest rates can fluctuate as we have seen in the past.